We're in Basis 1, Part 4, and this is Section C. And we're actually, before we started Section B, Sophia gave me a list of things to read out, which we haven't done. So, at the end of the last part, Sophia, you mentioned somebody had died. It was a murder or death or something. What do you mean by that?
How do you mean? Sorry.
I think we left with somebody who was
my ex's uncle, who he believes is his real father, who was in the same Masonic lodge as my natural father, who is my uncle. My ex's uncle died suspiciously. Yes. Then there is also the case of that how I came about James Casbolt at first was because I was looking into clones, and one of his videos popped up and I watched it. He mentioned the Royal Berkshire Hospital and how on this video, and he mentioned that there's clones at the basement of the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, and I know that there is a cloning centre at the basement of the Royal Berkshire Hospital. So I was interested in what he had to say about that, plus also the fact that he went to the same school as me, Deanfield. So what I was interested in clones for was because there are many occasions through the years where people have said they have seen me in places and I could not have been there. The first time, one of the times, was when after I just had my eldest daughter. She was a baby, and people were saying to me, "Oh, you were in the supermarket," and I'm like, "No, I wasn't in the supermarket. I was with my baby, who she got born in the Royal Berkshire Hospital. She had her heel prick test done there as well."
Do you want to explain that?
The heel prick test is to, I think, to take a sample of blood from the baby to check if it's got some kind of, I don't know, they never explained it to me.
The important thing is it contains the blood of the mother and the child in one sample. It's just done at birth, literally.
And they insisted I had to let them do that, otherwise they wouldn't let me out of the hospital with her. So I just had to allow that to happen. But now, moving forward, I thought about it and thought, well, she was born in the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading. She's born and they did the heel prick test there. So anyway, people came to me and said, "We saw you in the supermarket. We went over to talk to you and you were really rude to us and you wouldn't acknowledge your name." And I'm like, "No, I was at home all day with the baby because I didn't have the car, because my ex-husband had taken the car for other things. So I couldn't have, she'd just been born, so I couldn't have gone without a car to the supermarket." Then there was another occasion where people said they saw me, tried to talk to me, and I wouldn't acknowledge them. I was very rude, I was really aggressive, I attacked them, and I was like, but I wasn't there. I was in, I think I was in the Oracle Shopping Centre in Reading, and they saw me in another supermarket across town in Sainsbury's, and I was in the Oracle Shopping Centre in Reading, and this person who was meant to be me was very aggressive and attacked them and swore that I didn't know who they were, but this other person was wearing the same clothes as me, had the same model car as me, that I owned. So then moving forward, my children and I were living in Highworth, just outside within Wiltshire, and we went to the library because we went to the library to get a DVD or something, and the woman in the library said, "Oh, why are you back here? You were only here yesterday." And we were like, no, we weren't here yesterday because the kids and I were at the O2 in London, and we were doing a sort of educational trip to London because they were home educated. The librarian insisted that we were there the day before. We were like, no, we were in London. And she said, well, you reserved a DVD. And I was like, no. So she said, well, when the DVD comes in, she looked up our records and everything. She said, yeah, you reserved a DVD. You reserved Peter and the Wolf. So I said, okay. So we went back to the library to get this DVD that I supposedly reserved. And so this other person who was meant to be me, and my children were meant to be there as well. So we got the DVD and we were watching it, and unfortunately there was a scene in that film which I believe traumatised my eldest daughter, and it's just a Peter and the Wolf, but the goose got eaten by the wolf, but she was very traumatised by that. So I feel that somehow, some way, this other me got this DVD. My eldest daughter, she can't remember it now, that event or anything, but it was just interesting that this person that was meant to be me reserved this DVD with the children. So basically, all along, there's been someone around that looks like me, is very aggressive, very angry. The children, there's events where my daughters have been seen in places they could not have been in, and they've been very aggressive and angry and rude and totally out of character, and they were in places that they couldn't have been because they were somewhere else, or we were all somewhere else together. So it seemed that we had what seemed like clones walking around, almost like following us, going to places that we would go to, and the only explanation I have is clones. And if we do have clones, my daughters and I, then the question is how, because my youngest daughter was a home birth. She was born at home. She did not have a heel prick test because she was born at home. They kind of forgot about her. They left her alone. So, but they did take the placenta, of course, because I didn't want it. They could dispose of it, fine. But the thing is, they did take the placenta and the umbilical cord with them, the midwives. But that was in a different, that was in Reading again. So they could have perhaps used the placenta maybe to make a clone of her. The heel prick test, maybe that made a clone of my eldest daughter. That's the only explanation I have there. Or they already have our genetic material somehow, some way. Maybe we were taken and we've forgotten. Maybe our minds got wiped and we were taken away by, it could have been government, it could have been...
I'm going to say something. I'm going to say Mandela effect or alternate reality.
Well,
because I had an experience myself where I'd been reported seen in 4 cities in the same day.
Well, the Mandela effect, I got affected by the Mandela effect in 2016-17. I can't basically remember the exact year, but it seemed that's when that Mandela effect started. So maybe the Mandela effect started well before that.
I'm saying that because there have been reports that some cases have met themselves coming back due to they being abducted, or they were placed back before they left, so they saw themselves coming before the event started. If you see what I mean?
Yes. When I kind of noticed the Mandela effect, it was like, because I remember the Earth was not where it is now. I remember the Earth being on Sagittarius arm. So if you're in the Mandela effect community, you're either from Sagittarius arm or Orion, or I think that's about it actually. Yeah, so I remember Sagittarian arm.
Now, what do you mean by that? The
Earth was, for me, I remember, and my eldest daughter remembers, the Earth was on the Sagittarius arm.
Sorry, explain that. What do you mean?
The Earth is now in a different place. So now I think it's Orion. I can't remember where the Earth is meant to be right now.
But you've also said the Sun, this before we were discussing things, before we...
When I got affected...
The Sun that we have now is not.
Well, when I got affected by the Mandela effect, to me, I remember the sun being yellow, a beautiful, warm, yellow sun. Now, the sun is glaring white.
It's blue-white, the frequency's gone up.
Yeah, and it's very, very different to what I remember. The Mandela effect can drive you a bit crazy because no one remembers what you remember.
For instance, the Lord's Prayer in the Bible.
The Lord's Prayer's changed. I only remember the original Lord's Prayer.
Now, what do you remember?
You want me to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
Yeah.
So we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now it's changed to forgive us our debtors.
Yeah.
Forgive our debts.
Now, Gridkeeper mentioned that, and he actually went to a church with the big Bible in it. These big Bibles that are physically printed, and he looked up the Lord's Prayer now, and it had changed.
The hundreds of years old Bibles have all changed. They're supernaturally changed. The Bible effects is, well, you've got the lion and the lamb. The lion shall dwell with the lamb, but now it's the wolf shall dwell with the lamb. With the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Yes. So it's changed from which, instead of, oh gosh, instead of what it is, what I remember, it's changed to which art in heaven, which indicates that it's almost satanic, because the word's changed to which than thou, from now, I think, and the lion shall lay down with the lamb. He's changed to the wolf shall lay down with the lamb, which is changing the complete connotation of that verse. The wolf would never lie down with the lamb or lay with the lamb. And so in a way it's kind of like it could be supernatural. I have been searching for answers of what's happened with the Mandela effect. Why am I on a different part of the universe on Earth that I remember? Why has Bernstein Bears changed to Bernstein Bears? Why has you've got all these sort of other connotations with words.
Okay, we're going to try and get back to this list, but what's your bottom line on why you think, apart from all those differences that you're talking about, okay, there's loads of differences, there's the Mandela effect and all that, and the sun's different. What do you think does that actually ultimately mean?
I think it either means that CERN has created an alternate reality for people.
Now, how does that work?
They opened a portal when they turned it on, but then there was an accident at CERN and it blew up,
There were several accidents, and
there was a lot of accidents at
to
CERN, yes.
recap on that, as far as bases is concerned, we did a lot with Dan McBolan, and also Paddy Brizard was in there, and there's a whole lot of controversy about that. But there was a concerted effort by a team of people with Dan McBolan and there's also changes issues about Dan, but they actually did a lot of remote influencing on the vacuum chamber of the CERN thing and cause a rupture. Okay? Now, at the same time, Simon Parkes' team was doing something similar. So there were at least 2 psychic groups focusing on doing something to stop the Great Hadron Collider from activating. And the Hadron Collider has got 2 counter-rotating energy fields within the same circle, and that is a scalar energetics device, and when you're doing with that, you're doing things outside normal 3D space and all that sort of stuff, and the Tesla stuff. So that's the background on that.
Well, I think whatever's behind the Mandela effect, whether it be man, whether it is a CERN, something's demonic is making those humans create these things, create the portals opening up, because with CERN it's on top of the gates of hell in Switzerland. All the so basically they're saying they're trying to get the stairway to heaven, when in actual fact they're going to the stairway of hell. They're opening that up, or probably opening both up, hell and heaven.
One of the things that the European families over the years have been dealing with are opening portals in all the various castles and great houses, and keeping these open and bringing in what they call dark matter life, which is now taking control of all existing life, which is of course a lot of that sort of stuff.
Well, a lot with the Bible changes, it's twisting all the words in the Bible. The Bible's become very demonic. The Bible has a change in God's word. So if you're a Christian, you know that God's word's written on your heart. So people who can see the Bible changes can remember the original Bible verses, the correct words. They can, because they have the Bible written, the Word of God written on their heart, and I believe they're opening portals all over the place, all over the world, and that's the and they have these these CERN things in Swindon at the Space Agency, and I think that connects to the fact that maybe these clone type things that I have, my daughters have, are connected to excuse me, to the CERN in Swindon.
Well, these colliders certainly can they've been synchronizing them all across the world, and of course the Chinese are building a bigger one, or have built. But anyway, let's get back to this list, because we wrote a list.
So yes, sorry.
And we're going to finish this part shortly. Okay, the next one is Highdown School.
Highdown School is a comprehensive school in Caversham, which I think there was a lot of Monarch programming going on there, like Deanfield School. Now, my natural father was the governor at Highdown School. And, you know, normally, because he's not meant to be my father, he's meant to be my uncle, but you don't normally become a governor of a school if your children aren't at the school. So basically, Highdown, I would be sent to the extracurricular special needs classes for English and maths, because apparently I was really rubbish at that. And so I would, I played truant a lot at school, because I wasn't...
Sorry, can you say that again?
I played truant at school on my own. I know, on my own. And the thing is, I thought I was clever. I thought, oh yeah, I'll play truant on my own. It wasn't like smoking behind the bike sheds, nothing like that. So I'd be walking off to the special needs classes, and I would go, instead of going straight to the classroom, I'd go right, but then I'd miss time. And I was thinking I was being all clever, and I was, going off to play truant. Meanwhile, when I'd turn right instead of going straight, I would miss time, and then I presume I would be taken elsewhere to other places, that type of thing, like James Casbolt says. And then when I went to, so that was Highdown, and I think Highdown there was lots of Monarch programming in Highdown School in Caversham, and so then maybe just for me, I don't know, but I know that when I went to Deanfield School, I went to extracurricular classes for English and maths, that type of thing. Same thing again. I thought I was playing truant, and instead of going straight into the extracurricular classroom, I'd go right, but then I'd miss time. And I mean, miss time, and then come back again. And I believe that they were taking me somehow, some way to the bases, those type of things.
Can you remember?
I have flashbacks. I have flashbacks, distant memories of going straight, but then turning right. For some unknown reason, I'd just go right. And then I had flashbacks of ending up in, I'd be in a black van. I think it could call it a van. And then being driven off.
I think they used to call them a black Mariah.
Paddy
wagon.
Paddy wagon.
Black
it was
Mariah was at that time maybe the type
like a transit van.
Yeah.
A black transit van, paddy wagon, that type of thing. No, the black transit van, and being taken to, I remember woods, being taken to woods, driving through woods, woodland, and then going to bases, military bases, for these seats that I'd be sitting to be put into to be tested for my I'm going to call it telepathic skills or psychic skills, that type of thing. They'd want me to connect to other dimensions, other beings as well. And as I said before, I would think it, and the writing would go on the screen beside me of what I was thinking would be written down, and I'd be like a psychic. I'd be transmitting messages from other realms, from other places, you could call it from the dead, and then I was also connecting to, aliens, that type of thing. I'm going to call it aliens. And
well, what would you prefer to call it?
Well, you see, they're not aliens as such, because they live here as well. They live here, they live in space, that type of thing. Other species then, and I'd connect to, they'd want me to connect to, famous people actually, famous people like Einstein. Or people, they'd want to pick their brains, type of thing. They want information from other, other species.
I've heard that from James. I'm not sure, but I think there's a situation where they would access the genius of those beings while they were alive in a different temporal time of some kind, so you could access it.
Well, they'd want to talk to people like General Patton or war generals, that type of thing.
Why General Patton?
Because they'd want the war tips on war, or
information
about what to do next or something like that.
The reason why I say that is because General Patton was the US general who was put in charge of getting Germany's esoteric weapons, the saucers, all the stuff that they did.
Oh.
And he knew the whole story of it, which is why he was ultimately assassinated.
I didn't know that.
He got, I think, Kamler and the saucer stuff, because he was meant to be going to Berlin to get Hitler, and there's a big controversy. Why was he diverted to some obscure place in Germany at the close of the war? And that connects with Dr. Green, all the stuff that's the nightmares that we're talking about now.
They wanted information from Patton. They wanted information from I'm trying to think, Hitler, and they wanted information from just trying to think here, sorry about this. They wanted information from sort of war people, war generals, that type of thing. They'd also want to future look into the future of what's going to happen. So if they were to take this path, what's the outcome? If they were to take another stream, what's the outcome? They wanted me to tap into that as well, get information from the future. Now, I've heard of Project Looking Glass. Maybe I was part of that. I don't know if they use psychics for Project Looking Glass. What that technology is, I don't know. They also wanted me to tap into the dark side, and sort of go into the sort of people like, I'm just trying to think, Rasputin. They wanted information from Rasputin, the Romanovs, that type of thing. And so it was kind of, that's what I would do. And they'd ask about the art of, they wanted warfare methods, techniques, that type of thing. They wanted to see what was going to happen in the future, which stream what would the outcome be of each stream, of which way the human race would go, type of thing. So it was all about control as well. So I would give information, I'd be telepathically giving information that they were trying to get about these sort of these sort of events, should we say? You know, World Trade Center, Princess Diana's death, that type of thing. These are the future events that I saw, and then I gave that information. Now, whatever you think of the World Trade Center, how it happened, whatever happened to Princess Diana, what I saw, and Paul McCartney, what I saw was not what we were shown. Princess Diana's death was not what we were shown on TV when it happened.
Well, what was shown? What wasn't?
Well, Princess Diana, she didn't die, and so it was kind of like she didn't pass away.
No,
yes, there was a crash. There was a crash.
The crash. She didn't die in a crash.
It wasn't her in the car.
Okay.
It wasn't her in the car. It was her double, someone who looked like her. And the World Trade Center, that wasn't the planes. It wasn't the planes that did it. And it was almost like they wanted to know the best place to hit the buildings with whatever they used to hit the buildings with. So yes, I saw these events before they'd happened. But obviously I didn't understand what I was seeing, that type of thing. Plus, they would do a mind wipe. They would wipe my memory so that when I came back from this, it would be like, oh, I'm back again. You know, like I haven't been anywhere.
Well, they couldn't have you contaminating the timelines by talking about something that you've seen. They had to do that.
Yeah, so I couldn't go around. I couldn't go around telling everyone that the World Trade Center was going to collapse. They wanted to know about Paul McCartney. I don't think it's
What's so
wanting to
important
know
about
about
Paul
Paul
McCartney?
Well, he died. He got replaced.
I think Andrew Johnson's done some work on that.
He got replaced.
Why was that so important?
To replace him to keep on making money. He could, but also I saw two timelines. So one, he actually died. Another one, he faked his death, and then the replacement came in. So the two of them, there's two Paul McCartneys. You've got the original and then the fake. And then the original's happily living quiet life over there. And then you've got the fake, who's what we see now.
Why keep the original? I mean, why not just...
No, the original. The original decided to just take a break. He was like, no. We want to save all the... We want to keep the money coming, the money flowing in, the cash flow.
Or whatever the Beatles were really all about.
Well, there was satanic. I mean, I like their music. I have nothing. I like their music, and I also like John Lennon.
Now, the reason why I'm saying that is independently on another basis, which I haven't done yet. It was discovered that the Abbey Road studios have an inverted cross underneath them, and there is a satanic church under the Abbey, or ritual thing under the Abbey Road studios, apparently, so I've been told.
I didn't know that.
Well, that would fit what you've just said.
I didn't know that was in the Abbey studios, but... Right, okay, well, it seems that they chose, the stream that was chosen was that Paul McCartney, the original, took a step back, and then the copy took over. There was a crash, a manipulated crash, so they announced his death, but then it was decided that he shouldn't die because of the cash flow. The cash would stop.
Are you talking about going back to the Sgt. Pepper album? Where,
yes, the Sgt.
Where he was turned the other way.
He was what, sorry?
Well, in the photograph, Paul McCartney is not facing forward.
Well, he's walking barefoot across the crossing.
So that's the Let It Be album, I think.
Oh, is it? Well, the one where
But at the time when Paul McCartney is allegedly meant to have disappeared or changed, the great mystery of all the Beatles in their lovely regalia, he's turned backwards apparently.
Probably. I've never really studied all their albums.
But then he's walking. Tell us about that. About the Let It Be. The walking across the.
Well, he's barefoot because it's saying Paul he's dead. It's a sign to say he's dead. He's the only one walking barefoot. And then if you play one of the songs backwards, John Lennon's singing it, and played backwards, he's saying Paul is dead, Paul is dead, Paul is dead. Now,
have you actually heard that? It's
I heard the playback. Theories. I've heard the playback. I played it back myself, and I was like, oh yeah, he did say that. Now, perhaps John Lennon was upset because Paul decided to take a step back and retire early, still getting the money, but then there's this double who's taken over. Maybe John Lennon didn't die. Yes, I know he was shot in New York, but I think what I got when I was doing these, what would you call it, connections, connecting the streamlines and stuff.
Viewing
remote viewing timelines, yeah.
There's probably a better word for it.
Yes, so remote viewing timelines. It was a double that got shot. It was a false bullet, and he took a step back. Would you blame him? I don't blame him, because he was hated, wasn't he, by the CIA and all the FBI, supposedly. And it was just so they would make more money if he was dead than if he was alive, which they have.
Are you telling me that he's in a chip shop with Elvis? And James Dean?
No, but I don't believe. I think Elvis Presley died.
There's a lot of evidence about that, but that's neither here nor there.
He'd be a very old man now.
Oh well, he would be. Yeah. He. Let's go back to.
Maybe Elvis Presley didn't die, but maybe he's dead now because he'd be quite old and everything.
Yeah, and all that.
Or maybe he
okay,
left
we're going to get back to the list. Getting back to the list.
Mm-hmm.
Centrepoint London remote viewing.
The remote viewing is what we've just been talking about.
Okay.
And then, oh yes, my
your father's illness.
My father, my adoptive father, the one he's my uncle, but he got a very strange illness. It's called dermopolymyositis. There was one American football player who got it. He died. I cannot remember his name, American football player. But
can you explain that again? What's the disease? What's the symptoms?
It's called dermopolymyositis.
I'm glad you can say it.
It's an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
And it's like the body attacking itself. It's autoimmune. Dermo, skin. Poly's muscle. Cytus, I can't remember what it means and everything. But anyway, no one really survives this illness. There's no survival really. And my father, he was swelling up all over, all his muscles, everything was swelling up. He couldn't walk. It was going to affect his heart. It was going to affect his lungs, all his vital organs, his brain. They took him to hospital. He was put in the John Radcliffe, and basically the doctor said he's got 24 hours. He'll either survive this night or he'll die. Just to warn you, we don't think he's going to survive. He's got 24 hours to live. So he and the group, they did a joint.
Could you just remind people what that group is?
The group of the people, the satanic group that purchased me, they all do this sort of rituals and stuff, and they all came together and did a kind of healing session all together, and as you say, maybe remote viewing or something like that. They did this whole healing session together at a certain time, and then basically he got out of bed and started walking around, and he was perfectly healed after what they did. So it was like they all came together to do like a session to get him better, basically. Whether they used the dark energies or the light energies, I don't know. But he shouldn't have survived. So maybe they used some kind of technology to do that, or was it mind over matter? I don't know. But I just thought it was... That's what they did.
Is that Royal Berkshire Hospital? Is that what that's about?
Well, he was in the Royal Berks, and then the Battle Hospital, which is no longer, and then he was put into John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxfordshire, where his brother has a property there, because his brother's got properties everywhere, and he's got a property in Oxford, next to the near the John Radcliffe Hospital. So if the Royal Berkshire Hospital has what we call a cloning centre underneath it, why hasn't the John Radcliffe Hospital got a cloning centre underneath it?
What do you know about these hospitals with deep underground?
Well,
other function.
Well, they have. Well, with the Royal Berkshire Hospital, it's ironic that in Reading you've got the Reading University, where they do a lot of experiments, that type of thing, and it's also near all the bases, that sort of thing. And then you've got the John Radcliffe, which has a basement thing underneath, which is probably connected to a lot of military bases around Oxfordshire. So you've got Berkshire, Oxfordshire, and then Wiltshire, and all the Army and Air Force bases around there. Now I was taken to, as I said before, to a base where it was joint with the Air Force and the military.
I think you said
combined.
that in part 3, and I think that might have been Peasmore.
It Peasmore, there are other bases as well, and they've got a combined base where you've got the Army and the Air Force combined. And down south, down by the naval bases, you've got the military and the Air Force and the Navy combined. And with these, it's like it's separate from the actual bases that we know, the military bases, the army bases, sorry, and the Air Force, where you've got Lynham and this one over here.
Well, they've
and
changed function quite a lot in the recent years. They sort of swap around a bit.
And the Americans sell it off, and there's American bases and everything. The ones I'm talking about, they're combined, and they're American, Russian. You know, you've got all these different countries combined together, Navy and Air Force and Army, and they're combined and everything. So these bases have got jets and they've got the hardware, military hardware, and then of course they've got different uniforms. They've got the black uniforms with yellow chevron arrow. I call it an arrow,
yeah.
but chevron here with the badge, with the two eagle heads. The eagle with two. Well, it's like an eagle, but it's got two heads.
The phoenix, is it?
It could
Phoenix,
be the
right?
phoenix. Yeah, I just remember this eagle thing with two heads looking either side, and they've got humans there, and then of course you've got then you've got the should we say aliens as well, who are commanding the humans there. But they all mix together. It's not like, the
exactly
Navy go
what
over
aliens.
here. Sorry?
Could you identify the aliens?
Yeah, okay, like you say, the Draco, the tall blondes, blonde-haired ones.
Some people call them Pleiadian.
Palladian.
Is that right?
You see...
Well, let's forget about names.
The Nordic.
Yeah.
They look Nordic. Yeah. And I don't know, I think there's a faction of, you've got the good Palladians and you've got the bad Palladians, but are they both the same race, or is it just you've got the bad guys and the good guys?
Well, it's a bit like humans and good guys and bad guys.
And so the ones that were there, they were more about control. So maybe perhaps they're an offshoot. They're the bad guys, as it were. I don't think they're here to save us, the human race. Now, there's other Palladians that took me into space who are the good guys. I think they're the good ones. So you've got the good and the bad. And the ones I saw were more controlling, more darker energy, and darker energy about them. They're more into control, and they're more into the vices as well. I mean, drugs and this adrenochrome perhaps, and sacrificing, that type of thing. Sacrificing humans, eating organs, that sort of thing. Whereas the ones that took me into space, the good Palladians, weren't into that at all. Didn't agree with it. So whether they got the bad ones got taken over.
Well, I think it's a bit naive to suggest that races are good or bad. It's like all different peoples, different countries, different people, same organisation have got different policies and agendas.
Mm-hmm. I think you've got good and bad in everything. Yeah. Maybe.
It's a bit like saying all Russians bad, all Americans
good.
No,
I wasn't saying. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that perhaps you've got some good Palladians who are not agreeing with some of the other Palladians who are more into the bad stuff. Like we have good and bad in humans as well.
Well, there are some people who've said that there's no such thing as a good alien. The only good alien's a dead alien. I mean, that was mentioned in the...
It depends.
What do you feel about that?
Well, I don't agree with that, to be honest with you.
I mean, are some groups. And anyway, this is a different topic to discuss. It's not really relevant now. We're in our sort of part 4 here of Basis 1. All those years, like 21 years after Barry King talked about this whole thing at Peasmore and Project Puppet Master and all that sort of stuff. In this closing few minutes of this part 4, of which there's 3 sections, just to break it up so people can watch it easier. What do you think of all that stuff that Barry talked about and James Casbolt? Because there's a lot of, and Max and all that. What do you feel about that?
What do I feel about what they've said? Well, I've only seen some bits from all of them. I haven't been able to see everything because for a lot of the time I had no access to the internet when I was living in the caravan, when I was basically on the run from the Met, so I was kind of cut off from a lot of the stuff these people were talking about. So I never really paid much attention. I didn't see anything they were saying. So I've kind of slowly but surely caught up now. And now what they're saying is like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember this. So I agree with Barry King. I agree with James Casbolt, of course. And I agree with all the other people, Max Spears. I agree with them, and of course I believe them, and I can now correspond what I remember with what they've said over those 20 years ago. And now to me it's like, oh right, so it's not just me that went through this. It's not just me that had these memories.
Okay, I'm going to say something really nasty. I'm going to say, look, you're just merely an attention seeker. Who's looking, on the coattails of these other guys who some people say are a bunch of liars and fantasists, and this whole thing's just a load of just baloney, and you're just here to just grab attention and whatever. What do you say about that?
What I say about that is, after everything that I have been through, after being chased by the Metropolitan Police, after having the police disregard what I said, calling me a fantasist, a liar, delusional, putting my children on the at-risk register, having been accusations hurled at me over these years, and I have been proven right all along, and everything they have said about me is complete lie. I'm not here to get fame and glory. I'm not here for money. I'm not here for celebrity status. I want the truth out. I want the sacrificing of children. I want the children to be saved and the sacrificing of humans to be stopped. And I feel what I have to say will help kind of connect all the dots, some dots for people, and maybe other victims can step forward and say, hang on a minute, I remember that happening to me. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my children, my grandchildren. I'm doing it for the victims of human trafficking and victims of maybe some government warfare, psychological warfare. I'm doing it for that. I'm not doing it really for me. I'm doing it because if I don't speak up, what if I know something that the good guys don't know? And maybe what I know will help aid the prevention of this, to stopping this from carrying on. And I don't really care if people believe me or don't believe me. I know the truth, and the truth is the truth. And either people can say I'm trying to jump on the coattails of others, and I'm not. And I'm here also because James Casbolt has been treated really badly, and I feel that, maybe it'll help him in some way. I feel bad for him to be put in prison and everything, And because I went to the same school as him, it might help to help verify what he has said. But I'm not here for celebrity. I'm not here for money or anything. I don't really want that. I don't care. I know the truth, and I'll stick by that truth.
Well, thank you, Sophia. And that's a really important thing that has to be said. Thank you very much. This is the Basis Project. Witness. We just get the witnesses, sit them down, ask them questions. They tell their story. And we've got it's a very serious and tragic story, and we're in a lot of trouble. Okay, that's Basis 1 2021 update part 4 with Sophia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.